Welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about the metamorphosis of Malcolm Little. Most of us know him as Malcolm X. First, I have to give a disclaimer. I absolutely love Malcolm X, so you might hear some bias in this, but I'm just telling you up front. I love Malcolm X. So, metamorphosis is the transformation from an immature being to a mature one. So, it usually talks about insects, but I'm using it as an analogy for Malcolm's life. So, the stages in this process, it starts out with an egg, then it goes to larva, which we would think of as a caterpillar. Then pupa is when it's in the cocoon in that chrysalis stage. Then it becomes a butterfly. So let me get to it. In the egg stage, he was born Malcolm Little. He was the fourth of seven children on May 19th, 1925. His father was a Christian minister. His name is Earl Little, and he was an African American born in Georgia. His mother, Louise Little, was of mixed race. She was a Grenadian American. Both parents were strong supporters of Marcus Garvey's Pan-Africanism. Earl was a leader in one of the United Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, that was with Marcus Garvey, and his wife was a secretary. Earl, Malcolm's father, accused the Black Legion, which is a white supremacist group, of burning down the family's house in Lansing, Michigan. And also, some people suspected that the white supremacists, that group, played a part in his death, which was ruled accidental. But you can't trust certain documents at certain times in America. And after his death, Louise Little was driven by society as well as her circumstances to have a nervous breakdown, and she was hospitalized in the Kalamazoo Mental Health Hospital between 1939 and 1963. After that, the children are sent to foster homes and relatives. Malcolm Little gets kicked out of school in the 7th grade, and he goes to a juvenile home. But then he starts excelling in school. And this is a story most of us know. He tells his English teacher, Mr. Ostrowski, can't say that name, that he wanted to be a lawyer. And he told him he was better suited as a carpenter. There's nothing wrong with being a carpenter, but when you're meant to be something, you're meant to be it, and people need to support you on that. The next stage is the larva or caterpillar, and this is the point at which caterpillars, as I grew up seeing them, they would just eat, consume, mindlessly consuming. So you'll see caterpillars on a tree and all the leaves will be gone. And this is them taking in that energy that they'll need for the final stage. And Malcolm had that kind of vibe throughout his life in this larva stage. So we see Malcolm at 15, he goes to Boston and does many different odd jobs, just doesn't have any kind of path. He's in the railroad one moment, he's working in a restaurant, then he's working in a bar, then he's a shoe shiner, then he's working in a jewelry shop. Then he started hustling in Boston, that is petty crime in Boston and New York, and he dyes his hair red and he dresses the part, so in these dapper suits that are outlandish, and they call him Detroit Red or New York Red. But there is still a spark of rebellion during these caterpillar years. So in 1944, and I found this hilarious, they tried to draft him into the army to fight against Japan. And he stated that if they were to send him to fight, he would fight on behalf of the Japanese and he would kill the white men. So the army labeled him 4F, which is mentally ill, and they didn't ask him to do it anymore. So we see a hint of the Black Panthers right there. He had 2 run-ins with the criminal justice system for larceny. The first resulted in 4 months in jail, and the second one, this time he conducted it with 2 white women and a friend. So he's going to get the consequence both for sleeping with white women, stealing with white women. So he gets 8 to 10 years, his friend. The woman he actually slept with, she got 7 months. The other woman got no time at all, though they all participated in the crime. Now we're up to the poopa stage, and this is when the caterpillar goes into this cocoon. And this is when the human goes into itself and into its community and raises the sense of consciousness. So this is us. This is the videos that I'm showing, turning into ourselves, turning into our community and raising our positive Black identity. So let's see what happened for Malcolm. So Malcolm, what starts this stage for him, the catalyst, is at 20, he's now in prison, and he would spend 6 years in prison. And this is where he's looking inwards. So in prison, Malcolm meets a man named Bimby who encouraged him to study and develop his mind. Additionally, 4 of his 6 siblings converted to the version of Islam taught by Elijah Muhammad. And Malcolm X starts communicating with Elijah Muhammad. Then Malcolm X converts to Islam. I must note that I do not endorse Elijah Muhammad's teachings or views that white people are devils. But based on Christian theology, everything such as slavery, enslavement, oppression are all the devil's work, because it involves lying, stealing, and destruction. And when anyone engages in that kind of lifestyle, they're behaving like devils. So he wasn't wrong in calling out people and saying, hey, this behavior is devilish. But I don't agree. I don't think people are devils. I think we act like devils at times, and all of us can fall into that. So in this stage, Malcolm Little becomes Malcolm X, a Muslim minister following the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, an ardent lover of Black people. Malcolm loved us desperately, passionately, so it's so easy to love him because he loved us first. And he was a separatist. He had no time for white people joining the movement. Whether you're a white liberal or KKK, he had no time for you. Actually, he'd prefer to spend a day with the KKK because he thought at least they were out and proud. He was a revolutionary resistor of injustice against Black people, so you'll see him being militant in Harlem, standing up when Black people get killed. So in essence, he became everything that the English teacher said he could not be. Because when you're something, you just have to be it. He was also a faithful husband and a loving father. Then we come up to the last stage, the final stage of metamorphosis, is when you see the butterfly emerges. It's an imperfect being, and butterflies are so gorgeous and delicate. They don't live very long, but how magnificent it is to see them. So there are 2 catalysts for this stage. Elijah Muhammad is revealed to be not all Malcolm thought he was. And Malcolm takes a Hajj, goes to Mecca, and he also sees the world. So his heart is open on the Hajj, and he believes that people of other ethnicities can worship together and work together in limited ways. He was also taught a more traditional version of Islam that was more inclusive and more concrete. He also increased his global awareness of the struggles of Black people everywhere and becomes what he was in the beginning, a Pan-Africanist and total human rights activist, and I would dare say a human rights lawyer defending his people all the way. And within his religious tradition, he became Malik el-Shabazz. Malik el-Shabazz. But for those of us Black people who loved him, as Ozzie Davis said, he became our Black Prince. And for me, he became enshrined in my heart. So what are the key takeaways? Like Malcolm Little, Malcolm X, Malik el-Shabazz, take every part of your experience on this earth and make something beautiful out of it. And we're not actually butterflies, so it won't happen automatically. You have to take time to become intentional about raising your consciousness, your Black consciousness, all parts of your consciousness within your oppressed group and within yourself. And it isn't a linear process. So for the rest of your life, for the best of your life, you have to devote time to it. This is what I'm trying to get you to do here. This is what I'm doing here. And then when you've raised your consciousness about the issues that bother you as a person and as a community, then you raise your consciousness again to oppression in all the world, the needs in the world, and then make the world a little better than you found it in your own special way. So yeah, madly in love with Malcolm. Hope you are too.